All right, looks like we're at 6 o'clock, so you have the backup recording? All right, this is the town council meeting, Wednesday, August 19th, 2020, commencing at 6 p.m. And if we could all rise for pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You do a roll call, please. And Marty Elizabeth here.
Denny Bass here.
And any declarations, conflicts of interest? Pretty short agenda today. Mayor's Town update. I'll just had a couple of meetings the last couple of days with Uzona's Chamber of Commerce. They're really trying to fire up the chamber and want us involved in it as well, because they feel like that we're a connected community. We're knitted together with, we have people live here that work there and vice versa. The town has joined the chamber. I'm on the board and I've attended one of their luncheons today. They had 37 people in attendance, which are just different people from different businesses showing up, and they want involvement from Apple Valley at any level that we can participate, because they feel like it's a good way to kind of boost each other up with business promotion, to know who's who. And they will be doing monthly meetings out there, and they're looking to, each time they'll have some business talk about what it is that they do, so we can all get to know who's out there and who's even here. So the chamber only charges about $100 to join the chamber as a business. It's very inexpensive. We're going to put exposure on a website that they have as well for any businesses that join. We're planning on a gala for the chamber. I think it's December 11th. And a business expo / jobs fair. That'll happen sometime in, I think, end of April. We haven't set the final date on it yet, but basically what they want to do is create a place where people that are looking to hire, and there is, by the way, if you know people looking for jobs, I met a guy from Plus One out there. He says they're looking to hire 150 people. That's how busy they are right now. And they we're talking about putting a couple of breakout sessions in that business seminar, where some of our young kids, they're just fresh out of high school. They don't know how to even do a resume, let alone how to maybe interview for a job. And so we're talking about trying to create a breakout session for 45 minutes to go over some of the points on resume building. And then another breakout session that talks about interview skills. What can you do to make yourself shine in an interview, and how to land the interview, and what to do when you apply for a job. How do you follow up on it? And just different things that I think today's kids, they just, they go online, fill out an application, they don't hear anything, and that's the end of it, you know? And so we thought we would try to help our youth out with a leg up and come up with a class in the meantime. And so that's kind of what the chamber is doing, is to promote not only business, but jobs and a job fair out there. So I'll talk more on that as we get into it. All right, well, I think we'll go to our first agenda items, the consent agenda. Any questions on the consent agenda?
No.
Danny, you have any questions on it at all? And how about Mike?
I'm good.
Paul, you all right with it? So we want to do a motion then?
I make a motion, we accept the consent agenda
as stated, A, B, C, D, E. That's nice, Jen.
And vote.
Aye.
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 Aye. And, okay, discussion action. We have Michael Beck of Harmony Public Involvement online, and he's going to talk about the SR 59 passing lane construction.
Yep. Can you all hear me well?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I have Chris Hall here with me. He's the UDOT project manager on this project, and so I have a little presentation. Then afterwards, if you guys have any questions, Chris and I can answer those. I'm going to share my screen here and just jump straight into this presentation. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So again, my name is Michael Beck. I'm with Harmony Public Involvement. We're working with UDOT on this SR 59 improvement project from Hilldale through Apple Valley. This project is mainly 3 sections. There's 2 passing lane sections, one a northbound passing lane between Apple Valley and Hilldale. That's right outside of Hilldale. A southbound passing lane between Apple Valley and Hurricane, and then some improvements at the intersection of Apple Valley Main Street and SR 59. The schedule of this project, it's 186 total working days. I'm sure you guys have noticed that now for the past about month or so, we've been out there working. It's going to continue to be similar to the impacts that you've seen so far from about July, a month ago when we started through. We estimate around November, but just as late as we're able to continue working. There will be intermittent lane closures and flagging operations. The delay shouldn't be any more than 15 to 20 minutes, and oftentimes it's been quite a bit less than that, but just be aware that from now all the way through around November, we're going to be working. And then from November to around March, the project will be suspended. The roadway will be open as normal. Any passing travelers, they won't intersect with any construction from November to March. And then from about March to the end of June, we'll pick back up and start working again, hopefully to be done by the end of June next year. And just be aware that this schedule is subject to change due to weather or some other unforeseen circumstances. But right now, this is what the plan is. So we can go in and talk a little bit more in detail about these 3 things. The northbound passing lane, as you can see from the map here, it's just west of Hilldale, actually starts within their town boundaries. And it's approximately a mile and a half of road work from milepost 1 to milepost 2.44, so just under a mile and a half of work. And again, this will be a passing lane for northbound traffic. Additionally, there will be a southbound passing lane added. It's again about a mile and a half of road work beginning milepost 16 and extending west towards Hurricane. This will be a southbound passing lane, so it's on the other side of the road. And yeah, it'll be there on the map where you can see in between Hurricane and Apple Valley. And the third thing, we will be redoing this Apple Valley Main Street and SR 59 intersection. As you can see, we're adding turn lanes, increasing shoulder width, and then a portion of Main Street will be paved. The approach area. The whole aim of this project is just to make this roadway safer. Everybody who, you guys live out there, you drive on it every day, you know that it can be a pretty dangerous roadway, and we're hoping that adding these more designated passing areas and the turn lanes, wider shoulders at that intersection will free up some traffic and hopefully improve safety. Now I can I'll just open it up for questions. Any questions that you guys have for me or Chris?
I just have one concern that was brought up to me, if probably not the right department, but somebody had told me when they first dug the first drainage ditch across the highway, when it was filled in, there was like a couple-inch gap. And after construction, somebody had come up, they hit that gap and almost threw their car off the road. And it was like that for several days before they came and actually filled it in a little bit better. That could be a concern. With a couple of inches when somebody comes up on that at 55 or 65 miles an hour. So.
Sure, yeah, and that, those cross patches, they should be paved. Chris, am I correct in saying that they've been paved?
Yeah, they should be paved, but this is the type of feedback that we really appreciate, because we oftentimes don't see that as much as the people that drive it every day and realize how much of an impact. So if there's ever those concerns, we've hired Harmony PI so we could make sure we could coordinate with the public like that. So if you call Mike, there should be a project hotline on signs out there. And if not, Mike can give you that project hotline that you can distribute to your residents.
Okay.
That's exactly the feedback that we really love to hear, because that can make a large impact. And sometimes our contractor doesn't realize how big of an impact those little things can be. So if you coordinate with that, we will try and get it fixed as quick as possible, because we definitely don't want something like that to happen again.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you.
And just kind of pigtailing off that, what Chris said, it'll be the end of this week, at the beginning of next week, all the residents of Apple Valley, Hilldale, and Colorado City will be getting every door direct mail postcard type of things in the mail, with a lot of this information we talked about in the presentation, along with contact information for the project. So all residents with an address that the mail delivers to will get that information here pretty quickly.
I have one concern as far as the safety issue goes. From what I understand, we've had 2 bad accidents in the last couple of days around the construction site. Are we reviewing that and see if we need to do anything different as far as safety issues?
Yes, we hold a weekly meeting with the contractor, and they always discuss those accidents. And if they felt like there was anything that we could do to try and mitigate from more accidents like that happening. I've been unable to attend due to conflicts the last couple of weeks with that meeting, but that is something that they discuss weekly if there's accidents, and what ways we can mitigate if we feel like there was anything that we were doing that could have contributed to the accident.
Okay.
There is one more part of the project that wasn't in the presentation. We're also putting some gravel on the shoulders further down in more areas, just like we did in this upper section, that last project we did. We widened those shoulders out so there's more room for people to safely pull off if there's an emergency, and to help with law enforcement so they feel safe to pull people over out there. So that extends throughout the project and further down into Hurricane of widening those shoulders. And we did understand that there was some issue with the material we placed on that last project being a cinder-like material that would cause cars to kind of slide as they were going off, and it would rut a little bit. So on this project, we asked the contractor to place a little different material that should hold together better and be easier to pull off on. So that's another aspect of this project that we're including. And we learned from the last project to try and make an improvement from what we did last time.
Can anything be done about those shoulders that are kind of soft that they put in before all along?
As of right now, we're going to monitor it and see how bad they get. Our maintenance will continually look at it. If it gets to the point where they're completely washing out and causing safety issues on the edge of the road, they should come back in and put some different material in there. But for the time being, that we'll just have to monitor it to see how well it holds up to the next couple of storms and the weather and traffic for a little while longer.
I think that's the big concern, because since that shoulder was put in, we haven't had any rain, and if people are sliding on it now, what's it gonna do when we do get our storms? Because, you know, with putting that material down, like I said, we haven't had any storms since it's been put down, so it's already an issue. What's it gonna be like when we do have our storms?
Yeah, with the storms, that the biggest concern with storms is if we get high flows, it could wash the material away and essentially just leave the shoulder what it used to be like. But as far as the cinders go, they should actually have better traction and hold together when they're a little bit wet. So as far as cars driving on it, when it's wet, it should be fine. In fact, better than a dry condition. But our concern is that if we get a large storm event, it could wash some of that material away, which that's what we'll monitor and try and put different material back in if it washes too much material away from the edge of the roadway.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, number 2 on the agenda is a contract amendment of Sunrise Engineering for Smart GIS platform implementation, conditional approval on a CIB grant. Scope of change request. We've already got the money granted to us from CIB, and we have some matching funds that we had allocated for a different kind of a project, and this is pretty close in scope. But we wanted to ask permission rather than just take advantage of it. So we wanted to have a vote on it that we're basically changing the scope. Basically, we were going to do some stuff that really could be considered water district kind of stuff, and had funds available for it. They haven't acted on it at all at my request. And at this point, we think we want to move those funds over to Smart GIS platform. Basically, what that means to you guys is if you go to our website and you click on the GIS map that we paid Ensign Engineering a bunch of money to do for us. And I should also mention that they never finished the map, even though we paid a bunch of money for what we got. They've turned it off. And they don't want to do business with us anymore because the water district owes them money, according to them. And because of the dispute, they don't even want to do anything with the town. We went to them. We wanted to modify some of the, every year you have to really pretty much, lot splits, things like that don't show up in this GIS until we pay an engineer to update it. So that's what we approached them to do, was to update our mapping so we could get a better handle on updating the map. So when you click on something on there, give or take a month or two, it's pretty accurate. And they said they didn't want to do business with us, and they turned off our GIS, basically. And what's interesting is they were at least gracious enough to say we could have the data, which means that the GIS data that's already there is, I don't know what the back end looks like, but if you can picture a big spreadsheet with a bunch of numbers in it, it's probably something like that. And it pretty much just plugs into their software. Their software knows how to read this table, which converts it all into a readable map online, along with which property has a, what zoning and what the general map is for that particular property. All of that information that we've collected is the information we're trying to update and keep active instead of letting it get way out of date. And so they'll switch us over to their system. The advantage of their system is it's a live connection with the county. As soon as the county updates, I was meeting with someone just yesterday on some different issues, and I happened to run across our Main Street realignment already shows up on the county's website as the big S curve instead of the angle that it is right now. And so with this GIS system that Sunrise proposes, it is a live update. And it would instantly show that those kind of changes. As soon as the county shows it, it shows on our map. We don't have to push a button at all. And I like that part. And it also allows us to go in and change the general map for any particular area. Our current system that we had with Ensign does not do that. At least they would not allow us to do it. We had to pay them to do it. And the only thing we could change is maybe if we did a zone change, ownership, things like that. But yeah, this new system updates all that. Half of it's grant. I think we're talking about 13 grand. Is that about what it was that we had left over? And half of that at least is grant money that's already been awarded by CIB. And so we're just looking for a vote to approve that recommendation that we change that over. Anybody have any questions on that? Did I explain that clear enough? I think we've talked about this in previous meetings, that the battle with Ensign Engineering. Jenny, you got any questions? Paul? Debbie?
And
I'm good.
when we originally did this agreement last year.
Yeah.
And the thing, it says that, you know, if there was any additional cost, it would be accrued by the town, so the SSD wouldn't be responsible for any of these monies.
Okay. Is there a question in there?
No, I just want to know, is that true, that it's gonna, all the costs will be incurred by the town?
Well, this is only a town item anyway, for the GIS map, but I guess there could be some water stuff in that. We do have the ability to add, further add water lines and locations of, you know, fire hydrants and
Well, yeah, because on here it says
Sizes
culinary
of-
water and,
this thing allows us to go in with Dale Harris, for example, could have access and just, if he finds out that a water line says it's 8 inches on our GIS, but they dig it up and find out it's 12 inches, and he can go in and modify that himself without us having to pay an engineer to do it, which, I don't know if that answers your question, but we didn't have plans to build a water district on any of this. Mike? you have a
I'm good.
question? Did I answer that okay? Debbie, all right. We have a motion from somebody, item 2?
On that rate, usually approve the scope grant change request for Sunrise Engineering Smart GIS platform. Does that work?
Yes,
Second,
vote,
aye.
I,
Aye.
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 And motion carries, and number 3, we're going to, you talked to Sean about this at all? We're going to, I recommend that we table this for this. Oh, you're Sean's here?
I am reporting from a Wendy's in Las Vegas, yes.
Oh my gosh. I was going to let everybody know that Sean broke down in Las Vegas today, so.
And just to clarify, it was my car, not me.
Yes. So what we have, Sean, is on our outdoor lighting ordinance, we passed that. Do you remember the date on that? About 2 months ago. And in our system, we updated the system and it did not delete the old ordinance. I feel like it's a bookkeeping error more than anything, but we wanted to ask you, is it okay to vote on this? So we just want to bring it to light that we have now 2 lighting ordinances in the same book. And because the one was not deleted, it's just a,
So
that was
this
the intent, it didn't happen.
this ordinance is in your zoning code, is that correct?
Yeah.
And you had a public hearing on that at Planning Commission, correct?
We did.
So because it's simply just caretaking to make sure that we don't have the duplicates on there or conflicting ordinances, and you had the public hearing, and you also took it up at town council, I think you're good to take it up tonight and go ahead and with those deletions that are before you tonight.
Okay, so what we're recommending is that we have a motion that we delete our old
The original,
ordinance.
yeah, the
Original,
yeah.
and we're keeping the one that we already voted on and approved. It was just,
Clerical error.
our self-publishing software allows you to make mistakes, you know? And that's what we did basically. So, anyway, so
Do we even need a motion for that, or is it just a mistake, or do we do?
well, let's just vote on it anyway, make
Okay.
it safe. So the ordinance is,
Need a motion. We do need a motion, Mayor.
I'll, you want to take a stab at it?
So I'll make a motion that on ordinance 0-2020-17 on our outdoor lighting correction, that we erase the old ordinance and keep the ordinance in place that we passed and accepted a couple months ago.
Second.
And vote.
Aye?
Aye.
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 Ben, will this have the same, corrected version is gonna have the same?
So this ordinance number 2020-17 is an ordinance correcting the prior ordinance.
All right.
But this is the old one, not the new one.
So this new ordinance repeals the language, the old language.
Which is what the intent was when we passed the old ordinance. It got, our system let us say both of them instead of deleting it. So anyway, we're just doing some cleanup. So that'll correct that. Item number 4 on our agenda is Main Street cattle guard expenditure. So for the Main Street realignment, good news is they're still doing it, as he talked about a little bit ago. And we're excited about that. And, but the bad news was I got a call from the county, and the commissioners are willing to pay for the cattle guard on the north side of the road, but not the south side of the road. I think they call it east and west, but I get confused by that. It feels like that's north and south, but anyway, on their side, because they're maintaining Main Street between us and Rockville, they'll pay for that cattle guard. They've done the homework on it already. Basically, our cost is $14,488.55. That's what it costs per cattle guard, and they want the town to pay for the cattle guard on the other side, which I don't see that we have much choice. It's so far out of all the expenses we've had the COG help pay. We've had the county is going to help actually do the alignment. UDOT's paying for the pavement. I guess we got to write a check sometime or something, and that's our part. So besides, trying to help out labor-wise. So anyway, are you guys good with that?
Well, even though they did the homework, the 14, that seems pretty expensive for a cattle guard to me.
It is.
Do we have a choice going out for bid, or are we just going to accept their price?
They already went out to bid to get this, and they said that was the lowest bid they had for everything, every component that they have. They bid several different components. They didn't just bid it all as one. So they bid a couple of different vendors that handle the concrete basin that you gotta have. They had a couple of different vendors that bid that, and that's included in this price, the lowest one, and then the steel from another vendor. And anyway, they sourced several different vendors to come up with this as the lowest price. And I'm gonna trust Todd, that's how I feel about it. Because they're tight too. That's why they're asking us to pay for part of it. They're not, they don't have a blank checkbook themselves.
What were we originally supposed to pay for?
Originally, they were gonna try to provide it for us. I was hoping they had a couple of them laying around in their storage yard or something they could just let us have or something, and that didn't pan out. So. I think it's because of COVID is the main thing that he cited, because they're getting hit hard on expenses and having to reel in what they, I was, to be honest with you, when all this was coming out, I was afraid they'd just postpone it altogether for a whole year, you know?
Yeah, okay, is this for total, it says total material cost is 14,000, that's for everything, installation and all, or just for material?
It is just material, but they're gonna do the installation for us and not charge us.
Oh.
So the county says, you guys pay for it, we'll put it in for you.
I think
So,
that's a no-brainer.
you know, so I just think it's, you know, we gotta take advantage of it. It's like, we're getting all this realignment done for about that kind of money. We'll probably end up having to buy some diesel fuel and do a few things to help out with some of this, but it pretty much, it's a no-brainer to get that turn lane at Main Street. And it costs us 14 grand to do it, so. Any other feedback? All right. How about you, Denny?
I already said what I need to say.
Okay.
Okay.
Paul, Debbie, either of you have any questions?
Will it come out of like our roads fund, or do we have to just like blank check it?
Yeah. BC road funds, that we're planning bringing it out of, yeah, BC road funds. So anyway,
Motion
so,
if we're
yeah,
ready to go on, so,
I'm ready to go.
make a motion that we accept the Main Street Caligari expenditure.
And second, and vote,
Aye.
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 Was that a nay from Danny? What was your vote?
Aye,
Aye, thank you.
And
with hesitation.
I don't blame you, it's a lot of money. Next item is 5, Resolution R-2020-08 Purchasing Policy Amendment. This is Ben's baby. I'll let Ben explain why he wants to do what he wants to do.
Yeah, so as the town's official purchasing agent, another title that is granted. So we worked through our purchasing policy. I'm proposing some amendments to the dollar amounts as to when a sealed bid is required. Our threshold is extremely low. Maybe Sean, do you know off the top of your head what St. George's bid threshold is? Sealed bid?
I don't off the top of my head, but when I reviewed these, they were extremely low, and even the changes you're making are extremely low, but I can understand, given your budget size,
Right.
why you would keep it at that
Yeah.
level, but.
And that's why we're trying to keep it still on the low side, but it's,
Other cities I've seen have been in the $50,000 range. But like Sean mentioned, what I'm proposing here is just a slightly higher threshold so that we don't have to go through the sealed bid process. When we're making a purchase, it's really already been budgeted for. So this doesn't allow us to purchase something that's not been budgeted for. It simply makes the purchase process a little bit easier. A lot of providers really aren't willing to go through an entire sealed bid process for a $2,000 transaction. And that's what the bid threshold is right now. So currently we have to public notice of bid opening and go through, at least have it open for 7 days and publish it in the newspaper to purchase doors for a bathroom. And so what we're doing here is I'm proposing that the threshold be increased from $2,000 to $5,000 for the bid threshold. In my 2-year experience in the town, a $5,000 transaction is kind of when the town gets to see bigger transactions. So the telephone bid, essentially, there's a secondary component, and that's when currently purchasing an item between $1,000 and $2,000, we have to receive 2 to 3 phone bids. And that threshold is moved, I'm proposing to be moved from $2,000 to $5,000.
So you're saying the towns around us that are $50,000
With large budgets, yeah.
with, yeah, they're
When you
20
have
times,
hundreds of millions.
20
of
times bigger
dollars.
than we are, 30 times bigger than we are. So,
Yep.
so you're asking to go up to 5.
The other thing you didn't mention is this is the same thresholds the water district did about a year ago.
Yeah.
So,
And obviously, there's still significant oversight when the money's going out the door. There's multiple layers. There is, the budget, first of all, we can't spend outside of our budget. It's signed by our treasurer, Debbie, and by our mayor anytime that we make large purchases like this. So there's still a lot of transparency with the money that's going out the door.
By the time we're signing the check, the purchase is
It's,
usually already made.
it's a committed expense at that point, yeah.
And so, Ben, I'd add, I just wanted to double check before I spoke on the record because I don't have all of ours memorized, but ours in St. George is $1,000. You can purchase something below $1,000. If it's above $1,000 and below $25,000, we require 3 just estimates, right? We go out and get 3 quotes for that, and then 25,000 and above is where we start our bidding.
Great, thanks, Sean.
Okay.
So I did, like I said, if we wanted to be closer in line with St. George, then you could drop that 2 to 3 bid estimate or proposal down to 1,000 as part of the motion. I think that would make sense. So. Currently, if it's passed as it's currently drafted, it is not to 2,000 where the 2 to 3 bids are required.
Any feedback on that?
Well,
So as you've written this, it looks like it's, if we're spending something up to $2,000, that's okay. Over that, we're supposed to get 2 to 3 telephone bids. Is what you've got.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we accept the resolution number 2020-08, the purchasing policy. Second.
All right, then a vote. Any other discussion first?
I don't so much mind the 2,000, I just don't like the 5,000 one.
Well, between the 2 and the 5, we still have to get phone bids. That's where Ben can't just go spend 5,000.
So remember, this is a $2,000 transaction currently requires writing in the newspaper, being posted on the website for 7 days. We schedule a time for a bid opening where all the vendors are able to come and attend the bid opening. It's a big process for a $2,000 transaction. That's the reason.
And most vendors won't do it. Any questions, Deb?
No,
Having concerns?
We got a second. Mike seconded it.
Vote?
Aye.
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 Nick,
And
6, 7, 8, and 9, you're gonna table, right?
and on 6, 7, 8, and 9, we're going to table. They weren't properly noticed in the planning commission, and I've already taken Ben out behind the office here, and I whipped the hell out of him. So those are all. I guess we should take a vote to table those. So
Mayor, would you just take individual votes for each item?
sorry, take a vote for each item.
Yes, and that way it's clear on the record that each item was considered and tabled or tabled individually.
I don't think I want to do 1, 2, 3, 4 of them, but Deb, did you want to do the motion on that? You can just read each one.
sure, I make a motion that we table ordinance item number 6, ordinance 0-2020-18, general plan map change of AB 1376-A and 1376 AB 1376-N from R1 to agricultural applicant Jeff and Suzanne Spendler.
Second.
Well, let's go ahead and just include all of them. if you
Okay,
don't-
all?
Yeah, just keep reading.
Number
Well, let's,
7,
no, Mayor, that was, Deb, she was correct. Let's take them one at a time and you take
All
the
right.
vote. The reason for that is there always is a possibility, there could be a council member that wants to vote nay on one of those or aye.
Okay, all
It
right.
also makes it clear for the record.
All right, so Denny, you're second on that
I second it.
and vote?
Aye.
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 I'll speak up on that one.
Aye.
And then number 7, someone else want to do one?
Number 7, ordinance 0-2020-19.
Motion is to.
Motion is to table number 7, ordinance 0-2020-19. Zone change of parcels AV-1376-A and AV-1376-M from OSC to A-10 and RE1 PC. Recommended 4-0.
Second.
Vote?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Next one.
I move we table ordinance 0-2020-20 changes to 11.02.04 necessity of plat, exemptions to plat requirements.
second,
And vote?
Aye.
aye,
Aye.
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 And last one. Number 9.
I make a motion, we table resolution R 2020-09, appointment of the zoning administrator.
Second.
And vote?
Aye.
aye,
Aye.
Aye.
And fraud risk assessment, this is creeping back onto our agenda. I think that we need to have further discussion with Sean on that before we address
So
this.
this is the prior year, so this is ending fiscal year 2020.
Okay, all right.
And so this is just, before we post this to the state auditor's website,
Oh, I see.
the council just reviews it and provides any feedback and they would ask any questions about this project assessment.
no questions.
And so this is something that each person fills out?
No, this is for the municipality.
And this is how you've answered it then, is what you're saying?
Yeah, so
Because I just remember getting the email from them. I guess that's once they start the audit, though, they send us emails on that, asking for that.
So there's a few things that we can do to decrease our fraud risk. According to the state auditor's office, there's a few policies we can implement. If you guys remember, we talked about that, I think, back in June.
Yeah.
And we can address those in the coming months to get this done for the next time we complete a fraud risk assessment. It's just a matter of getting some of these good practices in our policies and procedures manual. I would say the most important portion, and obviously based on the point value, the state auditor agrees, is that basic separation of duties. This has to do with how cash is received, the checks and balances between issuing credits and bank deposits and everything that has to do with some of those basic functions. And as a small entity, in a lot of cases, we don't have the staff to have an appropriate separation of duties. And so we have mitigating controls in place where basically me and Michelle, we check each other on some of our tasks. So part of our monthly responsibilities are to review all the credit memos that were issued in the month, for example. That's one form of skimming cash, is the ability to receive the cash and then credit off the invoice that should have been relieved by that cash receipt. So we check each other on those things, and that's considered a mitigating control when you don't have sufficient staff to do those things.
And some of these things that have a 0 by them, like the IT computer security, can you speak to that? I mean, is this,
So these are just This is the.
Do they give some guidelines on that?
Regardless of the practices or controls that we have in place, these are actually written policies that they're asking if we have documented. An IT and computer security policy, our policies and procedures does have a small section related to computer usage, but not necessarily to computer security. It doesn't speak to computer security specifically. So,
Okay.
like I said, I mean, these are policies that in the coming month we can address either slowly or quickly based on Sean's review of the language that has been proposed in a prior meeting.
Any other questions by anybody?
Nope.
All right, so we have a motion to approve this.
I make a motion, we approve the board risk assessment ending fiscal year 2020.
Second.
Vote.
Aye.
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 Motion carries. And reports, recommendations, and announcements. There are no events. Planning Commission's not here. Fire Department, Chief, do you have anything you want to share?
Yeah, I got a few things. So we've had a few EMS calls in the area the last couple weeks. We've also had 3 fires. We had a fire on Main Street that turned out to be 2.7 acres, I think it was, 2.07. That one actually was started by someone working on a well and actually dropped torch in some grass, which got away from them pretty quick. So anyways, we caught that fire. That one would have moved into, I think everybody knows the area over by Yellowman. So back over the road, and we caught it right next to the road. So we got lucky on that one. We also had a single tree fire. Actually got some brush also, but that was a human caused fire that was in Cedar Point, right next to Debbie Rich's old house. So a few houses down. So we had that one that I just barely finished up most of the stuff on that one on the investigation side and everything, dealing with the sheriff's department and everybody. So that one's moving forward. Also, we had a human caused car fire behind the transmission shop on the Windmills. That was a human caused fire, intentionally set, and it's still under investigation. So we know who it was. We've talked with them. I've met with the fire marshal, and we've actually went to the residence and discussed possible help for the individual who set the fire. So just be aware if you see, people where they shouldn't be of the younger age, and you notice people in backyards or something like that, Cedar Point area, they like abandoned stuff. So people that set fires like, buildings that aren't finished and rubbish piles, and cars that are abandoned, like behind the transmission stop. So just keep your eyes open for smoke and people kind of looking like they're not doing something that they should be doing. So, and if you do see anything, call the sheriff's department immediately and let them know, and they will let dispatch know. If you see smoke, call 911. So, also, I finished up most of my billing for the last 3 fires that are on that were contracted. Those are all going. They all went well. I think we billed out roughly 7,500, somewhere around there. So about 5,000 of that is probably what the truck made on the 3 fires for 4 actual days. So also about a week ago, I finally got my type 1 firefighter task book signed off, and to explain to everybody, because not everybody really knows what this consists of. This task book that I'll be moving on to next has 87 actual sign-offs that have to be performed on fires by someone above you. So we only have 2 engine bosses in Hurricane, and that's what this is for, and we only have 1 in Hillville. So it's very hard to get these task books signed off, let alone 87 different signatures.
So you almost have to pray for fires then.
Yeah.
Wow.
So last year we were,
Lately, he's had a bunch of them.
yeah, this year's been, it's been very active. So especially in our area, it's been a little active also, so. Also, we got some more training coming up. We got S211 and S212 classes that I'm scheduling with the state for. That's a portable pumps class and a Sawyer class. And I've taken one of these, but we need this portable pumps class. That'll be free. It's going to be free to our department. So they'll come out and train that class. I think it's 6 or 7 days total.
Wow.
So that'll be good. That's also requirements for your task books. You gotta have these certifications in certain areas to actually be able to sign these task books off. So they won't give you these task books unless you have these actual certifications. So last week's training, well, actually a week before that, I moved Anthony Mosier up to lieutenant. He's been doing really good, showing up to fires, helping out a lot of incidents. And I just want to recognize that he moved up to lieutenant, which basically he'll be running a lot of the guys on training and stuff like that. So he's doing real well. Also, with our engine and how much money we can make on the engine if we get another one in here that actually allows us to do more with the certifications and everything else. We're at 120 something right now, I think it is, on our developmental rate. That's our rate that we get because we don't have all of these finished completely. That's a rate we get because they trust us to go out on fires as a developmental trainee. So once we move past into this region, we'll be able to bill out, I think it's roughly $40 more per hour for that engine, which is a third pretty much of what we're charging now. So that'll be really good once we get to that level, we'll be able to actually bill out for what it's actually worth. And also, we've been under fire watch for weeks, not months. So just be careful. Fire watch is not a red flag. It's just making you aware that we're in dry times. We have a lot of that. So that's all I got.
Okay, thank you. Questions or?
Is there a time limit you have to pass off those?
So these ones are 2 years, and you gotta go out.
Jeez.
So.
Okay. I see Harold online. Did he have something for, or do you, Denny, for?
Well, the only thing I have is that the engineers have looked at the Canaan area and the contracts are going out for bid. And Harold, speaking with Harold just a little bit before the meeting, stated that we should have some answers back from the contractors in early September.
Did we, did they transfer funds yet? Do we have money?
As far as I know, the funds are on their way. I don't know if we actually physically have them at this time. Harold sent me a text just before I sat down and I didn't get to read the whole thing, so I couldn't tell you.
Okay. Maybe Rod knows something about that, about the money?
If you'd like me to add, I can.
Sure, please.
So it's a 100% grant from the U.S. RD, and the funds are not released until they approve the bid.
The contracts, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
contracts.
So it's one more of those steps then. All right. All right, anything else?
Nope, that's it.
And roads, anything new on roads we want to talk about? Denny?
I have nothing to talk about. It's just they're dusty, I know that, but.
Yeah.
Well, I actually did a little, Margaret was asking what people were thinking. I actually called a couple of companies in regards to putting down, a product on the roads. And they said that unless you've got at least a 4-inch road base, that product will not, it won't work. So that's kind of out the door. Because our roads aren't 4-inch base, they don't have 4 inches, do they?
I don't think we would have as much dust, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Dust?
No, what I'm getting at is back in the old days, when I first moved here, even when the road base, before the pipeline went in, you know, I just felt like they were dusty even then, you know? You had a cloud behind you.
When, you know, and it's nice that you have the grader thing, but every time that grader thing goes on the road, it just makes the dust horrible. It's just horrible. You can't even really see the car in front of you now. And, you know, in my opinion, I would just prefer to go over the washboard area because it's not as dusty and it slows people down. It's just bad. But anyways, I just wanted to share that with you, that I did call a couple of companies, and unless you have 4 inches of road base, they won't work.
Well, Jerry was out really early this morning grading the roads, and he says he was surprised at how many people were out gardening and doing different things because it's cool. And he had a lot of waves and thumbs up and, you know, thank you, school.
Well,
as he's going up and down the road. So, but, you know, there's, it's one of those things, doesn't matter which way we go, we're doing it wrong, so.
I just say I would rather have the washboards than the dust myself, but,
Yeah.
you know, that's my opinion.
Yes, but you know what, we're on getting off on our agenda. Let's go to the council on the next agenda. Anybody have something they want to bring up or talk about?
I have something.
Yeah.
I spoke to Ben, I sent an email out, you responded to me, I heard from Denny, and I didn't get a chance to speak to you about having a grading permit. We've had things going on lately, like something in Cedar Point, and there was an instance with water. I won't get into details about that, but I feel we should have a grading permit so we know what's going on. I mean, it's in our town standards.
Just not in the code. So anyway, I've got one. I will email that out to you guys. That we've actually passed this out before to review and look at. It's lengthy and it just never made it back to our agenda. But I'll re-email that to him so it's on the top of your
Yeah, I
email
didn't have
list.
that in my box. I looked at the Title 15.
Title 15, yeah. Anyway, I've got it and I'll send it out to everyone and we'll let's pick it up and look at it one more time and go from there. So right now I'd like to open up public comments.
Allison Captain 2808 on Twitter. The last time we all met, we had bids coming in for chip and seal. And what did those come to?
About 900,000.
Pardon?
900,000.
935.
Yeah. That's not chip and seal, that's blacktop, and we're still waiting on a chip and seal bid. So that would be, you know, 2.5 inches of blacktop.
And how long do they have to get that in? It's been 2 months.
Yeah, I know it has been, and I can make a phone call to find out. I've got some people working on that, and I'll see what's going on with that. Rich Osowski.
Rich Osowski, 1024 West Oakland. Just to touch on the road deal. Jared came by, and I'd like to know who the people to give him the thumbs up, because I know a number of people out there, they were giving the thumbs down. What would help is when Jared came by twice in front of us, the dust was so bad, I couldn't see the neighbor's house across the street from me. It would help if he's gonna do that, if we had a water truck. I know we got a new pump for a 5,000 gallon water truck that Richard Fisher has, but he's not used it in our area. I don't know if he uses it for his work or he's doing his roads in his area. But if that water truck would go down before he decides to do it and put that dragger behind him, it would help. Because you can see that dust cloud from the other side of 59 because I got a call on it.
Well, we always try to not do those roads, drag them unless we have rain.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the washboard gets so bad, we feel like, okay, we gotta just bite the bullet because there's no rain in the forecast.
Maybe the people on our street could sign off and say, we don't want it down our street. There's only 2 of us on Little Pinyon Way, and we would be willing to sign off,
And-
including the neighbor across the street. But if he would take his water truck, it would definitely help. And he did it at a time. Now, what he did is, he did it at 8:02. And what happened at 8:25 is the floodgates were open. That's when everybody's late for work. And everybody, this light Suburban, 36 miles an hour past my house. And the 36 miles an hour, he only had less than 200 feet to get to 36 miles an hour. So there was a dust cloud behind him that just didn't go anywhere. And we didn't have any wind to dispute the dust. So we got bombarded. And what you do early in the morning, you leave your windows open to get as much cool air into your house for the day to keep that air conditioner from running. So we had to run to every window and close them before Jerry come through there, and then 3 other cars come through there. And the 3 other cars that come through there belong to a certain people that seems to have that problem. So anyway, the water truck behind Jerry or before Jerry was really helpful.
Well, I agree with that. It's just the water truck and a pump you're talking about, that all belongs to Richard Fisher. It's his personal equipment. It's not town
Okay,
equipment. And so when you see him watering the roads out by him, it's because he's volunteered to do that in his particular area as he's grading, but that's his truck, his time, his expenses to do that, so.
and then I have one other question to extend to that. There's a rumor that you don't have a code enforcement. I don't know how true that is. So what the deal is, I don't know about our charter, but our ordinance, I think it's 2007, I'm not sure, says that you need a sworn-in code enforcer. Now, that may not be the case, because when we're signed up for Washington Police Department, they made a point of it at one time that we had a sworn-in code enforcer. Now, being that Paul Edwards is the liaison, maybe he can fill in for one. And then I don't know how much authority that gives the mayor to go ahead and do the code enforcement job without being sworn in. I don't know the technicalities behind this, but maybe to make it legal in case you ever have to go to court, a sworn in code enforcer would help. But if all the people in the town council are code enforcers, I would willing to be going along with that.
We've never appointed the town council as code enforcers. Alls I said, and that's a vicious rumor that's been out there, is I just suggested that all of us live in different parts of the town. Just keep your eyes open. If you see something, say something. That's all I ever said. I never said that you're a code enforcer. We're all deputized. So, but anyway, thanks for your comments. Did you have your hand up, Margaret?
I didn't.
I thought you did a second ago. Anybody else have any comments? Public comments? Yes.
So I've lost the track of it. Are we supposed, Mary Cannon. Are we supposed to have a code enforcer? Why don't we have a code enforcer?
We just don't have one at this particular moment. That's all.
But we are supposed to have one, so.
I can't verify that that's true, that he says we have to have one. You know, I don't want to, you know, he's throwing something out there. I haven't looked it up, so I don't want to speak to that right now. So, yeah, but it's true that we don't have one. I've been acting as the code enforcer. Someone calls and I go out and I try and act on it. But that's how we've been doing it. Wear a lot of hats. Anyone else have any comments? And so we'll close public comments at this time. And we've got a request for a closed session on our agenda. I'd like to make a motion that we have a closed session to talk about the competency and character of a individual that's on our staff. We have a second
Second.
and another vote.
Aye.
Aye.
So item number 2 is the closed session.
I'm not sure I understand what you're asking for. It's,
On the agenda for tonight. Down on the bottom. Yeah, it says discussion and action.
All the way to the very bottom.
On the second page. Oh, you're talking about town council agenda. Okay, all right.
and so shall we, because of the, that's the last item on there, should we go ahead and adjourn? Are you
I'll
okay
make a
with that?
motion that we adjourn.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And Sean?
Will there be this-
Hey, Sean, can you hear us?
No, that was.
You're not listening.
Did that freeze?
Oh, he's too
Yeah.
frozen.
Yeah, we.
Oh, the water oversight. That's what she's supposed to.
Yeah, no, we haven't done that yet.
That'll be after.
I thought you gave Richard the okay to get water to do the road, water roads.
Yeah.
Just on that side or not?
Well,
that-
just wherever you wanted to.
Oh, wherever he wants to, but we give him the water, right? And how's our water truck coming?
How's the one?
Our water truck coming?
I don't know. I asked somebody to go and take a look at it. He never got back to me. I need to go over there and